At the bank, my daughter pushed a pen into my hand. Just sign, Mom. Her husband's fingers pressed my shoulder. Cameras caught their smiles, not my fear. I slid a folded note across the counter. Help. Not my choice. The manager looked down, then locked the door. Everything changed. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The fluorescent lights hummed above us, like bees trapped in glass. My daughter Claire stood beside me at Soundview Credit Union. Her husband Daniel pressed his hand on my shoulder. The weight of it felt wrong. I am Helen Morris, 68 years old, retired librarian from North Seattle. I know paper, how it tells truth long after mouths forget. The folder on the counter wasn't what they said. Not automatic bill pay. It was something else entirely. Family Operations Agreement, the cover read. For an LLC I had never heard of. Claire tapped the glossy folder with her finger. Just sign here, Mom, she had said in the car. Daniel's thumb pressed small crescents into my winter coat. The fabric bunched under his grip. I could smell the bank's carpet cleaner. Sharp and chemical. It made my nose itch. The papers inside made my stomach drop. Managing partners, it said. Claire and Daniel as controlling members. My house address appeared on page 2. Under capital contribution. As if Cedar and Memories were loose change. Routine, Daniel had whispered earlier. His breath warm against my ear. Security for emergencies. But I remembered how to read between lines. How to find the truth buried in bureaucracy. The teller watched us through the glass partition. Her nameplate read Jennifer. Young face. Careful eyes. I felt the old librarian wake up inside me. The woman who once tracked lost books with only fragments. Who could find answers in the smallest details? I reached into my purse. Found an old library checkout slip. Wrote 3 words with shaking fingers. Help. Not my choice. I slid the folded paper toward Jennifer when they weren't looking. She blinked once. Nodded so slightly I almost missed it. One moment, Ms. Morris, she said. Her voice steady as a heartbeat. She disappeared into the glass office behind the counter. A small woman with silver hair looked up from her desk. The nameplate read Sophia Alvarez, branch lead. Sophia's eyes met mine through the glass. Something passed between us. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition. She stood up. Walked toward us with purpose. Let's finish this in my office, Sophia said. Pleasant but firm. She slid the folder back across the counter toward me. The door latch turned. It clicked like a seatbelt before turbulence. Daniel smiled for the security camera. Claire leaned closer with the pen ready. Their performance perfect for anyone watching. But Sophia was watching me. Helen, she said, her voice even and careful. Before any change, I need to confirm that it's freely made. The words hung in the air like smoke. Freely made. I looked at the pen in my hand. Then set it down on the counter. I'd like to read it again, I said. My voice deliberately soft. Claire's jaw tightened. I saw the muscle jump. Mom's tired, she said to Sophia. We've reviewed it at home. But Sophia's eyes had found the folded slip beneath my palm. I'll need to speak with Ms. Morris alone, she said. Standard verification procedure. Daniel's fingers pressed harder into my shoulder. Is that necessary? Policy, Sophia replied. She opened a fresh legal pad. Professional. Unshakable. The office door closed behind us. The fluorescent humming stopped. The air felt different now. Cleaner. Safer. I could breathe again for the first time in months. Sophia sat across from me. Her silver hair caught the afternoon light from the window. She looked like someone who had made difficult decisions before. Your note, she said simply. The words came slowly at first. Like water from a rusty tap. They've been persuading me, I said. Rearranging things to fit their story. She wrote quickly on the legal pad. I'm required to report suspected financial exploitation, she said. I can place oversight flags on your accounts. The word exploitation sat heavy between us. Truth often does. If you choose to proceed, she continued, we can record this under consent. For evidence. If you choose not to, I will support that decision too. Evidence, I repeated. The word tasted like medicine. Necessary but bitter. Yes, I said. Sophia invited them back in. Cheerful as a librarian hosting story time. We'll proceed with the account linking you requested, she announced. With enhanced monitoring protocols. The camera light blinked red. Recording now. Ms. Morris, Sophia said clearly. Do you consent to add Morris Family Operations LLC as an authorized payee on your accounts? Claire's hand found my arm again. Almost friendly pressure. It's all pro forma, Mom. I looked directly into the camera lens. Then to Sophia's steady gaze. I consent to this demonstration, I said. My voice clear and measured. Of how people talk over someone they claim to love. The silence stretched like pulled wire. And I object, I added. Daniel's laugh came out sharp and brittle. A sound like breaking glass. She jokes when she's anxious, Daniel told the camera. But Sophia's pen had stopped moving. Because consent is unclear, she said, we will not complete these changes today. She slid a business card across the desk to me. Her direct line written in blue ink. Then another card. Pre-printed with a case number. 24E517. Already filed. Already alive. If anything moves in your accounts, she said, I'll see it immediately. In the lobby, their notary friend waited. Brent, his suit gleaming under the bank lights. All set? He asked with practiced cheer. Postponed, Sophia said. Verification required. Outside, the Seattle air smelled like rain rehearsing for the real storm. The kind of weather that makes everything feel possible. Claire's smile never reached her eyes. You embarrassed me in there, she said softly. As if shame were my crime to carry. I adjusted my coat against the coming rain. Protected my roof, I replied. Daniel folded the glossy folder with sharp creases. We'll try again Monday, he said. It sounded like a threat dressed up for Sunday brunch. But I had Sophia's card in my pocket now. The case number warm against my fingers. The old librarian in me understood. Every story has a catalog number. Every truth has a file. This was mine. 3 months before the bank, none of this made sense. Claire had started with silk words. Safety, she said. Convenience. Support. Like a net woven from good intentions. Or what looked like good intentions. The thermostat was first. Claire would visit on Tuesdays. Always Tuesdays. She'd bring soup in mason jars and concern in her voice. The house feels cold, Mom, she'd say. Let me check the settings. I'd wake the next morning to frost on my breath. 62 degrees. The thermostat dial turned down while I slept. Thermostats are tricky, Claire would tell me when I called. The old models malfunction. It's not your fault. But I remembered setting it at 70 before bed. I remembered the soft click of the dial. The smoke alarm came next. 2 sharp beeps at 3 in the morning. The battery light blinking red in the darkness. I'd changed those batteries the weekend before. Written the date on my calendar in blue ink. When I told Claire, she brought fresh batteries. 9-volt energizers in crinkled packaging. Smoke alarms chirp when people forget, she said. Her voice gentle as gauze. I wanted to believe her. Wanted to trust the daughter I'd raised to read truth from fiction. But doubt is a fog machine. It fills every corner regardless of open windows. Daniel started coming with Claire. Her husband with his soft voice and careful questions. Always dressed like he'd stepped from a catalog. Pressed khakis and button-downs that never wrinkled. He'd wander my kitchen while Claire and I talked. opening drawers, checking the pilot light on the stove. Just making sure everything's safe, he'd say when he caught me watching. The pill organizer appeared scrambled on a Thursday. 7 compartments of confusion. Tuesday's blood pressure medicine in Saturday's slot. Wednesday's vitamins scattered like confetti. I cried in the pantry where the walls couldn't see. Between the cereal boxes and canned tomatoes. I hadn't mixed them. I knew I hadn't. But knowing and proving are different countries. Sometimes you need a passport to cross between them. Mrs. Klein from next door mentioned the porch light. Saw it on all night Tuesday, she said after church. Everything okay, Helen? I remembered turning it off before bed. The familiar weight of the switch under my finger. Daniel had installed a smart switch the week before. To help, he'd said. Now you can control it from anywhere. I watched him test it from his phone. The light dancing on and off like a firefly trapped in glass. When the first papers arrived, they came in a manila envelope. Morris Family Operations, LLC, the return address read. Claire spread them across my kitchen table like a card game. A family platform, she called it. For pooled resilience in uncertain times. Daniel worked in tech sales. He spoke fluent startup. Words that sounded like safety but tasted like ownership. The margins told a different story. Managing control vested in Class A members. Claire Morris Hartwell. Daniel Hartwell. My name appeared under Class B. Silent partner. Limited voting rights. You can veto anything, Claire promised. Her hand covering mine on the table. We just want to be ready. Ready for what? I asked. Life, she said. The way she might have said cancer or earthquake. Inevitable and approaching. I read the papers twice that night. Then again by morning light. The language was careful, legal, binding as barbed wire wrapped in ribbon. At church, I sat in my usual pew. 3rd row from the back, aisle seat. The hymns felt different that Sunday. Hollow as empty jars. After service, I called legal aid from the church parking lot. Sat in my Honda with the engine running and the heater humming. The receptionist transferred me to Michael Chen. His voice sounded like furniture you trust. Solid wood instead of particle board. You're not alone, he said when I finished explaining. And you're not crazy. Those words. Simple as water but necessary as breathing. He told me to document everything. Keep a log, he said. Dates, times, what changed when you weren't looking. He gave me a checklist with boxes I'd never wanted to tick. Signs of financial abuse. Red flags wrapped in family concern. That night I started writing. Blue ink on yellow legal pad. The same kind I'd used for 30 years of library work. Tuesday, March 15th. Thermostat at 62 when I woke. Set at 70 before bed. Wednesday, March 16th. Pill organizer scrambled. Had organized Sunday evening. Thursday, March 17th. Smart switch activated at 11:47 p.m. Did not turn on light myself. Each entry a small rebellion. Each date a tiny declaration of war. My granddaughter Anna texted me photos from school. Science fair projects made from recycled bottles. Wind turbines that spun like hope. My grandson Ethan drew dragons that looked like the cedar tree in my backyard. Breathing fire that looked suspiciously like flowers. They ran through my house when they visited. Made noise that sounded like life. Left fingerprints on windows and crumbs on counters. Normal mess. Honest chaos. Then their parents would arrive with clipboards and concern. The house would grow quiet again. Careful again. Claire would comment on the mail stacked too high. Daniel would notice the newspaper still in its plastic sleeve at noon. Small observations that felt like accusations. Gentle erosions disguised as help. I started hiding things. Not from them. For them. My bank statements in a recipe box labeled desserts. My prescription bottles behind the flour canister. My calendar with its careful blue dates tucked inside my Bible. If they wanted evidence of my decline, they'd have to manufacture it themselves. The house grew colder as spring arrived. Not the thermostat this time. Something deeper. The way air changes before a storm. I could feel them watching. Waiting. Calculating the distance between concern and control. But I was watching too. Learning their rhythms. Their patterns. Every Tuesday soup. Every Friday check-in. Every Sunday after church suggestion about making things simpler. Simpler for whom, I wondered. But I already knew the answer. The fog machine was working. Doubt creeping through every crack they'd opened in my certainty. But fog dissipates in sunlight. And I still remembered how to find the switch. I spent 30 years cataloging things. Time to catalog again. My yellow legal pad became my truth. Blue ink like blood under fluorescent lights. April 2nd. Daniel photographed my pill bottles. Said he wanted to help with reordering. Took pictures of the labels. All of them. April 5th. Thermostat logs showed midnight temperature drops. Settings I never made. Changes that happened while I slept. April 8th. Claire asked about my online brokerage login in the car. If something happened, she said, who would know your passwords? Her voice soft as velvet. Her question sharp as a pry bar. I wrote it all down. Every gentle invasion. Every reasonable request that felt like theft. The notebook grew heavy with small betrayals. Each page a small rebellion against their careful erosion. Michael Chen met me at Victrola on Capitol Hill. The coffee shop smelled like burnt beans and hope. He slid a yellow pad between us. We're going to build guardrails, he said. His voice steady as old timber. He drew boxes with his pen. Neat squares connected by arrows. A flowchart of protection. First, a capacity evaluation from your doctor. Voluntary, he stressed. Shows you're making informed decisions. Second, irrevocable trust. You as trustee. Only you. No one else gets keys to that kingdom. Third, limited powers of attorney. Triggered by conditions you control. Not by what other people decide. Fourth, account notices requiring in-person changes. Plus a dual authentication phrase. What phrase? I asked. Something only librarians would use, he said. His smile crooked but kind. Colophon, I said without thinking. Perfect, he nodded. The mark at the end of every honest book. Won't they notice? I asked. Maybe, Michael said. But abusers prefer shadows. When lights come on, they squint. I practiced saying no in my bathroom mirror. The word felt rusty in my mouth. Like a tool left too long in the rain. My reflection looked like my mother in 1962. The year she learned to drive stick shift. Stubborn and scared in the best way. Anna texted me photos from her science fair. Wind turbines made from plastic bottles. Spinning like prayers in the gymnasium breeze. Ethan sent drawings of dragons. This one breathing bubbles instead of fire. I taped it to my refrigerator next to the grocery list. Small anchors in a storm I was just beginning to understand. Claire called on a Thursday. We've set an appointment at Soundview, she said. Saturday at 10. A notary friend will meet us there. Not asked. Set. Past tense. Decided without me. The fog machine kicked into high gear. It'll be fast, she promised. Just signatures. I heard Daniel in the background. Talking to someone else. About timeline and liquidity. Words that turned my house into numbers on a spreadsheet. Saturday then, I said. My voice steady as my morning coffee. Bring good coffee this time. Claire laughed. That nervous sound she made when things didn't go according to script. After I hung up, I called Michael. Saturday, I told him. They're moving. We're ready, he said. Remember, you have choices. You have voice. You have power. But power felt foreign in my mouth. Like speaking a language I'd forgotten. I cleaned the house that night. Not for them. For me. Dusted the bookshelves alphabetically. Straightened picture frames until they were perfectly level. Control over small things when large things felt impossible. The mirror in the hallway reflected a woman I was learning to recognize. 68 years old. Silver hair that caught light like determination. I had raised Claire to read critically. To question sources. To verify before trusting. Somewhere along the way, she'd learned to question me instead. The irony tasted bitter as burnt coffee. Friday evening I made tea. Earl Grey with honey. Sat at my kitchen table with the yellow legal pad. I wrote one more entry. Tomorrow, Soundview Credit Union. 10 a.m. Final attempt to steal my signature. But thieves expect dark alleys and unlocked doors. They don't expect librarians who know how to research. Who understand the difference between fiction and fact. I closed the notebook. Put it in my purse next to my driver's license and Michael's business card. Evidence travels light when it travels together. The cedar tree outside my window moved in the evening breeze. 40 years I'd watched that tree. Through seasons and storms and the slow accumulation of years. Its roots ran deep. Deeper than anyone could see from the surface. Some things can't be transplanted. Can't be managed or controlled or improved by other people's good intentions. Some things grow exactly where they're planted. And stay. The phone rang. Claire again. Mom, are you ready for tomorrow? She asked. I looked at my reflection in the kitchen window. The woman looking back had made her choice. Ready as I'll ever be, I said. But ready for what, she didn't know. And I wasn't going to tell her. Sleep came easily that night. The kind of rest that comes before battle. Deep and dreamless and necessary. Saturday morning arrived bright and clear. The kind of day that makes everything possible. I dressed carefully. Navy coat, sensible shoes, my grandmother's pearl earrings. Armor disguised as Sunday best. In my purse wallet, keys, phone, yellow notebook, Michael's card, Sophia's number written on the back of a receipt. And something else. Something they wouldn't expect. My library card. Expired but still valid in all the ways that mattered. Helen Morris, it read. Borrowing privileges since 1978. Some things you never return. Some things you keep forever. The battle was about to begin. But I knew something they didn't. Librarians never fight fair. We fight with facts. Monday arrived gray as newsprint. The kind of weather that makes everything feel inevitable. Claire called at 8:30. We rescheduled with Sophia for 10, she said. Same documents. Fresh approach. Her voice carried forced brightness. Like someone selling something they didn't quite believe in. This time we're bringing a family advocate, she added. Someone who specializes in elder transitions. Elder transitions. More pretty words for theft. I dressed in my navy coat again. The one that felt like armor. Carried my purse with Sophia's card tucked behind my driver's license. Evidence travels best when it travels close. They picked me up in Daniel's BMW. The leather seats smelled like expensive guilt. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Music to steal by. The family advocate sat in the front passenger seat. Dr. Patricia Wells, she introduced herself. I work with families navigating complex care decisions. Her handshake felt rehearsed. Like she'd practiced the exact pressure and duration. Claire twisted in her seat to face me. Mom, Dr. Wells specializes in cognitive assessments. She's here to help clarify your capacity for financial decisions. The word capacity hung in the air like smoke. Dangerous and spreading. At the bank, Sophia waited in her glass office. Her silver hair caught morning light like polished steel. Dr. Wells, she said when we entered. I wasn't expecting additional consultants today. Just ensuring all bases are covered, drive. Wells replied, her smile sharp as paper cuts. Sophia's eyes met mine across the desk. A question passed between us. Are you ready for this? I nodded once. Small movement but certain. The papers spread across Sophia's desk looked different today. More official. More binding. Like contracts instead of suggestions. Dr. Wells opened a leather portfolio. Pulled out forms that looked medical. Cognitive assessment tools, she explained to the room. Ms. Morris, she continued, I'd like to ask you some questions about your daily routines. Your ability to manage complex financial decisions. Her pen poised like a weapon. What year is it? She asked. 2024, I said clearly. Who is the current president? Joe Biden, I replied. She made notes. Professional scribbles that looked like judgments. Can you explain the difference between a checking and savings account? I looked at Sophia, then at Dr. Wells. Checking accounts provide liquidity for daily transactions, I said. Savings accounts typically earn interest and are used for longer-term financial goals. More scribbling. Do you understand what you're being asked to sign today? I understand perfectly, I said. My daughter and her husband want access to my home equity. They want to use my house as collateral for business ventures I didn't approve. Dr. Wells' pen stopped moving. Claire's face flushed pink. Mom, that's not accurate. We're creating a safety net. I continued looking at Dr. Wells. They've been manipulating my environment for months. Changing thermostat settings. Scrambling medications. Installing smart devices to control my home remotely. Dr. Wells set down her pen. These are concerning allegations, she said to Claire and Daniel. Not allegations, Sophia said quietly. Documented patterns. We have reports filed with Adult Protective Services. The room went quiet as held breath. Dr. Wells closed her portfolio. I cannot recommend capacity limitations based on what I'm observing today, she said to Claire. Claire's voice went sharp. We're paying for your assessment. I'm not paid to provide predetermined conclusions, Dr. Wells replied. She stood up, gathered her papers with efficient movements. Ms. Morris, you appear fully capable of making your own financial decisions. The door closed behind her with finality. Sophia slid the documents back toward Claire and Daniel. These changes will not be processed today, she said. Or any day without clear, uncoerced consent. Claire's hands shook as she gathered the papers. This isn't over, she said. Yes, it is, I replied. Outside, Seattle weather had turned honest. Rain falling like periods at the end of sentences. They drove me home in silence. The classical music turned off. The leather seats creaking with tension. At my front door, Claire tried one last time. Mom, we're trying to protect you. I looked at her directly. From what? I asked. From yourself, she said. I unlocked my door, stepped inside my own house. My own life. I'm perfectly capable of protecting myself, I said. From anyone who tries to steal from me. The door closed with the sound of a decision made. Through the window, I watched them sit in the driveway for 10 minutes. Talking, gesturing, planning their next approach. But I had something they didn't expect. A cognitive assessment from their own expert. Declaring me fully competent. Their weapon turned into my shield. I made coffee, strong and black. Sat at my kitchen table with the rain drumming against windows I controlled. The phone rang. Michael calling. How did it go? He asked. They brought a cognitive assessor, I said. She declared me completely competent. He laughed. The sound warm as victory. They just built your defense for you. The yellow legal pad lay open to this morning's entry. Second bank attempt, 10 a.m. I added one line. Expert assessment confirms full capacity. Case strengthened. The cedar tree outside bent in the storm. Flexible but unbroken. 40 years of weather survived. This was just another storm. I would weather this one too. Exactly where I belonged. Sunday should have been cinnamon rolls and crossword puzzles. Instead, my phone pulsed like a wounded bird. 2 alerts from Soundview Credit Union. Attempted HELOC draw authorization. New external transfer request labeled platform capitalization. Money trying to move like furniture at midnight. When no one was supposed to be watching. I sat at my kitchen table with the phone screen glowing. The numbers made my coffee taste like metal. $50,000. Attempted withdrawal against my home equity. My cedar tree. My 40 years of mortgage payments. Platform capitalization. Even their theft wore business casual. Sophia called first. Her voice steady as bedrock. Flags tripped on your account, she said. I've frozen the pending transfers and filed an internal escalation. We'll need a court order to lock them out permanently, she continued. Can you be available for emergency proceedings? Michael called before I could finish writing Sophia's words in my yellow notebook. I drafted a petition last night, he said. Can you be at the courthouse at 9 tomorrow? I wrote that down too. Blue ink on yellow paper. Emergency proceedings. Monday 9 a.m. The words looked official, important, like someone was finally taking this seriously. Sunday afternoon stretched long as a held breath. I cleaned the house again. Dusted books that didn't need dusting. Organized closets that were already organized. Motion disguised as control. The phone stayed quiet. No calls from Claire. No texts from Daniel. No explanations or apologies or attempts to justify the midnight money grab. Just silence. The kind that screams louder than words. Monday morning arrived gray as old newspapers. I dressed carefully. Navy dress. Sensible shoes. The armor of a woman who'd learned to fight. Michael met me on the courthouse steps with coffee and resolve. The building smelled like marble and old decisions. Heavy with the weight of justice administered. We sat in the hallway on wooden benches worn smooth by decades of people seeking fairness. Michael spread papers across his briefcase like a card dealer. The petition told my story in legal language. Attempted financial exploitation. Unauthorized account access. Pattern of manipulation and control. My life reduced to numbered paragraphs and whereas clauses. Judge Martinez read Sophia's affidavit first. Then my handwritten logs. The thermostat charts I'd printed. The timeline of small betrayals. Temporary protective order granted, she said. Her gavel sounded like a door closing. Or opening. The paperwork made it real. My accounts locked. My signature required for any changes. In person only. With Sophia watching. By noon we were back at Soundview. The same glass office where I'd first said no. A security officer hovered nearby. Polite but unmistakable. Claire and Daniel arrived with the speed of people who thought they were still in charge. Their faces masks of controlled confusion. Daniel wore his best suit. Navy pinstripe that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Claire had chosen soft colors. Beige and cream. The costume of concerned daughter. What is this about? Claire asked when Sophia slid the court order across her desk. Boundaries, Sophia said, her voice pleasant as poisoned honey. Claire's hands fluttered like trapped birds. She doesn't understand modern banking, Claire told the room. I straightened in my chair. The leather squeaked under my shifting weight. I understand attempted theft, I said. The words fell into silence like stones into still water. Ripples spreading outward. I understand you tried to borrow against my home without permission, I continued. To fund your company that was supposed to be just paperwork. Daniel's jaw worked like he was chewing something bitter. You're making this into something it's not, he said. I'm making it into evidence, I replied. Michael set his small recorder on the desk between us. The red light blinked like a mechanical heartbeat. For the record, he said. We spent an hour dissecting their attempted transactions. Line by line, dollar by dollar. The ugly arithmetic of family betrayal. Claire tried explanations that sounded rehearsed. Emergency preparedness, liquidity management, streamlined family finances. Words that meant nothing, covered everything. Daniel switched tactics, talked about market opportunities, time-sensitive investments, fiduciary responsibility to the family platform. More words, more smoke. The recorder captured it all. Their shifting stories, their contradictions, the slow crumble of their careful construction. When we finished, the room felt lighter. Not safe exactly, but ventilated. Outside, Seattle weather had turned decisive. Rain falling like punctuation marks. Periods at the end of sentences. Claire walked beside me to the parking lot. Her umbrella dripping between us. Mom, we need to discuss your living situation, she said. Her voice soft with manufactured concern. This proves you can't handle complex finances alone. I stopped walking, looked at her directly. This proves I can handle thieves disguised as helpers, I said. The rain drummed against her umbrella. A sound like applause from the sky. That night, my living room held only honest sounds. The refrigerator humming, wind in the cedar tree. The house breathing around me like a living thing. A text arrived from Anna. Are you okay, Nana? I typed back slowly. Learning to be. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. What does that mean? She asked. It means I'm remembering how to protect myself, I wrote. From what? From people who confuse love with control, I replied. The dots appeared once more. Then her response. Good. You're stronger than they think. 13 years old and seeing clearly what her parents had chosen to ignore. I made tea, Earl Grey with honey. Sat at my kitchen table with the evening light fading behind drawn curtains. The yellow legal pad lay open to today's entry. Emergency proceedings successful. Assets protected. Truth documented. I added one more line. Sleep will come easier tonight. The house settled around me. Familiar creaks and sighs. The language of home spoken in frequencies only longtime residents understand. Some battles end with explosions. Some end with paperwork. This one ended with the quiet satisfaction of a librarian who'd successfully cataloged the truth. The cedar tree outside my window swayed in the evening breeze. 40 years of growth. 40 years of storms weathered. Deep roots. Stronger trunk. Still standing exactly where it belonged. I missed the children more than the quiet soothed me. Anna's laugh. Ethan's dragon drawings. The sound of feet running through my house like life itself. 2 weeks passed without them. 2 weeks of silence from Claire and Daniel. The kind of quiet that feels like punishment. So I called Claire with terms. Saturday, I said. Green Lake Park. Noon. Drop off only. 2 hours with the children. No discussions about my finances. No lectures about my living situation. You can't dictate how we handle family time, Claire said. Her voice tight as piano wire. I just did, I replied. And hung up gently. The dial tone hummed like satisfaction. Saturday arrived clear as window glass. I packed pears and string cheese in my canvas bag. Brought a thermos of hot chocolate that would still be warm at noon. Green Lake stretched before us like a mirror. Ducks tilted like teacups on the surface. Joggers traced the path in steady rhythms. Anna arrived first, sprinted toward me with arms flung wide. 13 years old but running like she was 7 again. The impact nearly knocked me backward. Her hug fierce as forgiveness. Ethan barreled into my coat a moment later, muffling his greeting against the buttons. Nana, he said, just that. Nothing else needed. We found our bench facing the water. The one with initials carved by long-ago lovers. HMRW. 1987. Someone else's forever etched in wood. Anna told me about her science project. The wind turbines made from plastic bottles. How the judges couldn't believe something so simple could work so well. The one that didn't look like much spun the fastest, she said. Exactly, I said. Ethan showed me his latest dragon drawing. This one breathing stars instead of fire. Purple crayon mixed with silver marker. Wings that looked like hope. We watched the ducks and ate pears that dripped down to our wrists. Sticky fingers and honest laughter. The kind of afternoon that makes everything else feel small. For 1 whole hour, the world was exactly what it should be. Then I saw them. Daniel and Claire at the edge of the path. Hovering like storm clouds on the horizon. They didn't sit. They performed waiting, checking phones and glancing at watches. Making their impatience visible from across the park. At 145, Daniel stepped forward. "We can walk you to the car," he said. Not a question. A presumption wrapped in politeness. "No need," I answered. Kept my voice light for the children. "Tell me about your favorite turbine design, Anna." Anna glanced toward her parents. Then back at me. "The one that caught the most wind without looking complicated," she said. "Smart girl," I said. At 158, Claire tried again. "Helen, we need to discuss moving you somewhere with more support." Her voice honey over razor blades. Sweet threat delivered in public where scenes were discouraged. "Support isn't a cage," I said. "It's a railing you hold when you choose to." Daniel exhaled through his nose. The sound horses make when they're frustrated. "You've let strangers turn you against your own family." I stood up, smoothed my coat as if it were armor. "I let professionals turn on the lights," I said. Anna's hand found mine. Quick squeeze. The secret language children speak when they recognize storms. Her fingers warm and certain. Telling me she understood. Telling me she was proud. When 2 o'clock came, the children hugged me hard. "Next week?" Ethan asked. His voice hopeful as morning. "We'll see," I said. Adults use those words to avoid commitment. Children hear the truth underneath. Sometimes maybe. Sometimes no. Sometimes the world changes faster than promises can keep up. Claire's goodbye felt rehearsed. "Drive safely, Mom. Take care of yourself." Words hollow as campaign promises. Pretty sounds meaning nothing. Daniel said nothing. Just nodded once. The kind of nod that ends conversations instead of starting them. I watched them walk to their BMW. The children's voices carrying across the parking lot. Anna explaining something to Ethan. Ethan's excited responses. Normal siblings being normal, despite the abnormal adults raising them. The drive home took me through neighborhoods I'd watched change for decades. New condos where craftsman houses used to stand. Coffee shops where corner groceries once served the same families for generations. Progress, some called it. I called it erasure. But some things persist. The lake still reflects sky. Children still run toward grandparents with open arms. Truth still cuts through lies when someone bothers to sharpen the blade. At home, I made tea and sat at my kitchen table. The yellow legal pad opened to a fresh page. Saturday, Green Lake, I wrote. 2 hours with Anna and Ethan. Supervised but not supervised. Claire and Daniel maintaining distance. Testing boundaries. Calculating their next approach. The phone rang at 5. Claire again. "We need to establish better communication," she said. "This isn't healthy for anyone." Health, I thought, was not their area of expertise. "What would healthy look like?" I asked. "Regular family meetings," she said. "Structured discussions about your future needs." Structure. Another word that meant control wearing Sunday clothes. "I'll consider it," I said. Knowing I wouldn't. But I'd learned the value of tactical ambiguity. Keep them guessing, keep them hoping, keep them planning for a future I wasn't going to give them. The cedar tree outside caught the evening light. 40 years of growing exactly where it was planted. No family meetings required. No structured discussions about its future needs. Just roots going deeper. Branches reaching higher. Season after season of stubborn persistence. I understood that language now. The grammar of staying put. The vocabulary of refusing to be transplanted. Some trees bend in storms. Some break. Some just grow stronger root systems and wait for better weather. Night came early in October. I drew the curtains and made myself dinner. Soup from a can and toast cut diagonal. The kind of simple meal that tastes like solitude. But solitude chosen feels different than solitude imposed. This was mine, earned through small battles and careful documentation. Through learning to say no and meaning it. The house settled around me with familiar sounds. Old wood expanding, pipes singing their quiet songs. The language of home spoken in frequencies only longtime residents understand. Anna texted me before bed. "Thanks for today, Nana. The park was perfect." I typed back. "You make everything perfect." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared once more. "Love you," she wrote. With a heart emoji. "Love you too," I replied. Some things don't need complicated explanations. Some feelings speak for themselves. I slept deeply that night. Dreamed of wind turbines spinning in endless fields. Dragons breathing stars. Children running toward safety with their arms wide open. Good dreams. Honest dreams. The kind that come when you've spent the day protecting what matters most. The calls slowed like a fever breaking. Then stopped altogether. Silence can be a peace treaty. Or an ambush. I treated it like both. With Michael, I finished what we'd started. The trust documents arrived in manila envelopes. Heavy paper that felt like certainty. My name carved in as trustee. Sole signatory. No one else held keys to that kingdom. The medical proxy waited dormant. Like a fire extinguisher behind glass. There if needed. Controlled by passwords only I would remember. A financial plan that made autopay and solitude into allies. Money flowing where it should. Staying where it belonged. Sophia and I had lunch at the cafe down from the bank. Her silver hair caught autumn sunlight through tall windows. "It happens more than people think," she said. Her voice matter of fact as weather reports. The vocabulary of care hiding anything. We made a list on paper napkins. Words that had tried to swallow me whole. Streamline, we wrote. Simplify. Resilience. Inevitable. Then their translations beside them. Control. 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 And if we can't have it now, we'll take it later. The napkin felt fragile but true. Truth often does. I joined the Tuesday group at the Greenwood Library. Widows and single men and aunties who wore bright scarves like armor. We shared small victories over coffee that tasted like community. Mabel switched doctors. The old one kept suggesting she was confused when she questioned his bills. Mr. Wren canceled a maintenance plan that never maintained anything. Just drained his checking account monthly. Teresa learned to scan her bank statements. Circle lies in red ink like a teacher grading the world's homework. We were a college of survivors. Each with degrees in detecting beautiful lies. I brought my yellow legal pad. Read my timeline of small thefts. The thermostat manipulations. The scrambled pills. The midnight money attempts. They nodded like congregants hearing familiar scripture. Been there, they said. Know that story. We were not alone. We were not crazy. We were a demographic under siege. But demographics fight back when they organize. When they share tactics and compare notes. I cleaned my house the way people do after uninvited guests. The kind who move your furniture when you're not looking. Put the pill organizer back where it had lived for years. Set the thermostat at 70 and watched it stay there. Labeled files with neat spines. Deed, trust, notes, dragons. The filing cabinet locked with a key I wore around my neck. Old-fashioned security in an age of digital theft. One evening I found Anna's hair tie under the sofa. Bright neon ring like a tiny life preserver. I cried, not from sadness but from choice. Because I could decide when to stop. Placed it on my kitchen corkboard. Small halo around a pushpin. Evidence of love that asked nothing in return. Michael called on a Thursday. "How's your heart?" he asked. "Like a book returned on time," I said. He laughed. The sound warm as coffee on cold mornings. "We'll keep the lights on anyway," he promised. But I was keeping my own lights on now. All switches under my control. The house felt different. Not safer exactly, but more honest. Like a person who'd stopped apologizing for taking up space. I cooked meals I wanted to eat. Read books they would have called frivolous. Watched old movies that made me cry happy tears. Small rebellions that felt like revolutions. The thermostat held steady at 70. The pill organizer stayed organized. The porch light turned on and off when I decided. Technology serving me instead of serving my surveillance. October deepened into November. The cedar tree outside my window dropped needles like copper pennies. 40 years of seasonal rhythms I knew by heart. Some things change. Some things endure. I was learning which was which. Anna texted photos from school. Her wind turbine project won honorable mention at the district fair. The simple design that spun fastest when others failed. Ethan sent more dragon drawings. This one breathing flowers that looked like stars. Or stars that looked like flowers. Art that made sense in ways adult logic couldn't touch. I printed their pictures. Taped them to the refrigerator next to shopping lists and appointment cards. Normal grandmother things. Ordinary love displayed in ordinary ways. The phone stayed quiet most days. No morning calls with gentle corrections. No afternoon visits with hidden agendas. Peace felt strange at first. Like wearing new shoes that didn't pinch. I had to remember how to fill my days with my own choices. What to eat, when to sleep, which shows to watch, which books to read. Decisions that had been slowly stolen. Now returned like library books long overdue. The Tuesday group became my congregation. We shared coffee and war stories. Strategies that worked. Tactics that failed. Mabel brought homemade cookies. Mr. Wren shared articles about financial abuse. Teresa displayed her red-circled bank statements like trophies. We were building something. Not just defenses but community. Not just walls but bridges to each other. The library became my second home again. I knew every aisle, every section, every comfortable chair that caught good light. Mrs. Patterson, the head librarian, remembered my 30 years of service. Always saved new mysteries for me. Left them on the returns cart with small yellow notes. Helen, thought you'd enjoy this one. MP. Kindness that expected nothing, asked nothing, just offered. I was remembering what that felt like. The nights grew longer but less lonely. Not because I had more company. Because I had better company. Myself. Without apology or explanation. I made tea when I wanted tea. Read until midnight when words called me. Slept until I was finished sleeping. The luxury of self-determination. Rich as chocolate, rare as honest silence. My reflection in the bathroom mirror showed a woman I was learning to trust. Silver-haired and clear-eyed. Someone who'd survived a war disguised as love. Someone who'd learned the difference between help and harm. Between family and predator. The yellow legal pad held fewer entries now. Less to document when you control the narrative yourself. But I kept it close. Evidence of battles fought and won. Proof that quiet people can fight back. That librarians make dangerous enemies when they stop being polite. November rain drummed against my windows. Steady rhythm like applause from the sky. I was applauding too, quietly, privately, for the woman who'd learned to say no. Who'd chosen truth over convenience. Who'd picked herself up and refused to be relocated. The cedar tree outside swayed in the wind. Still rooted, still growing, still exactly where it belonged. 6 months later, a letter arrived. Not a text, not a knock, a letter. Real paper in my mailbox between electric bills and grocery store flyers. Handwriting I recognized from birthday cards and school permission slips. The envelope bore smudged ink where a thumb had lingered too long. Someone had held this letter. Reconsidered sending it. Sent it anyway. I carried it to my kitchen table. Set it beside my morning coffee like a small explosive device. The return address read Claire Hartwell. Not Claire Morris Hartwell. Just Claire Hartwell. As if she'd stepped back from our shared name. Put distance between her identity and mine. I opened it with the careful precision of a librarian handling rare manuscripts. Paper that might crumble if mishandled. Mom, it began. Simple as that. No dear. No Helen. Just Mom in blue ink that had bled slightly into the paper's grain. Dr. Ng says control is a costume fear wears, the letter continued. I think I wore it so long I thought it was skin. The words sat quiet on the page. No exclamation points. No underlining. Just truth delivered plain as morning coffee. I'm sorry. I told myself platform meant protection. It meant power. The sentences felt shy. Like someone speaking after months of silence. Uncertain if their voice still worked. I remember you teaching me the card catalog, she wrote. You said every drawer knows where it belongs. I tried to put you in a drawer I could label. My coffee had grown cold while I read. The words blurring slightly as tears made reading difficult. Not tears of forgiveness. Not yet. Tears of recognition. Of a daughter finally seeing clearly. I see that now, the letter concluded. No demands for trust. No requests for meetings. No timeline for reconciliation. Just acknowledgement delivered without conditions. A postscript followed in Anna's slanted handwriting. Science fair trophy. The small turbine won. Below that, Ethan's careful printing. A dragon breathing a speech bubble that said simply hi. I read the letter twice. Then again, each time finding new weight in the sparse words. Control is a costume fear wears. The phrase stuck like music you can't stop humming. I set the letter on my windowsill. The afternoon light made the ink look honest. Made the paper glow like something sacred. Forgiveness, I knew, wasn't a gate you kicked open because you felt generous. It was a path you checked for rot and roots. Then stepped on carefully. One shoe at a time. The Tuesday group at the library had taught me that. Forgiveness earned, not granted. Trust rebuilt, not restored. Some of them had reconciled with family. Others had built new families from friends and neighbors. Both choices were brave. Both were valid. I made tea. Earl Grey with honey. Stood at my kitchen window watching the cedar tree that had weathered 40 years of seasons. The tree that bent in storms but never broke. Never uprooted itself to make others comfortable. In the glass reflection, I saw a woman with a librarian's spine. Someone who'd learned to keep her own name on every page that mattered. The letter waited on the sill. Not demanding response. Not setting deadlines. Just existing like afternoon light. Patient as truth often is. I thought about Claire at 13. The age Anna was now. How she'd helped me reorganize the linen closet. Made labels in her careful handwriting. Sheets. Towels. Pillowcases. Everything in its proper place. She'd inherited my need for order. My belief that everything had its proper shelf. Somewhere along the way, that need had twisted. Order became control. Organization became manipulation. But the letter suggested she was learning the difference. Dr. Ng helping her sort through the wreckage of good intentions gone wrong. I wrote back 2 lines on my own stationery. Helen Morris printed at the top in blue letters. Thank you for the letter. I'm not ready, but I'm listening. Short as a library checkout slip. Honest as overdue notices. I sealed it in an envelope. Addressed it in my careful librarian handwriting. Walked it to the mailbox at the corner. The return journey felt lighter. Not because I'd forgiven. Because I'd acknowledged. Opened a door without walking through it. Back home, I called Michael. Told him about the letter. Read him Claire's words about control being fear's costume. Progress, he said. Real accountability starts with understanding. She's doing the work. But I don't have to do the work with her, I said. Exactly, he replied. You choose the timeline. You set the terms. That evening I sat with the yellow legal pad. Made a new entry. Letter received from Claire. Acknowledgement without demands. Small step noted. The notebook had become less about documentation, more about observation. Watching patterns. Tracking changes. Noting progress without celebrating prematurely. Anna texted me a photo of her trophy. Small plastic figurine on a wooden base. District Science Fair, 3rd place. Proud of you, I typed back. Thanks, Nana. Mom said she wrote to you. She did, I replied. Are you mad at her? Anna asked. I thought about that. Was I mad? Or was I careful? Was I hurt? Or was I protecting something precious? I'm learning the difference between mad and careful, I texted. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Good, she wrote. You should be careful with your heart. 13 years old and already wiser than her mother about boundaries. About the difference between love and control. The house settled around me as darkness came. Familiar creaks and sighs. The language of home spoken in frequencies only residents understand. I had built something here. Not just shelter but sanctuary. Not just walls but boundaries. Not just a house but a life under my own control. The letter on the windowsill caught streetlight like a small beacon. Not demanding attention, just present. Available when I was ready. If I was ever ready. Some doors open slowly. Some never open at all. Both outcomes were acceptable. Both were mine to choose. The cedar tree outside had dropped more needles. November preparing for December. Seasons changing at their own pace. No one rushing the tree. No one demanding it bloom out of season. Just time passing. Roots deepening. Strength gathering for whatever weather came next. I slept well that night. Dreamed of filing systems and card catalogs. Everything in its proper place. Everything labeled correctly, including the space marked Helen Morris. Not for loan. Some books stay exactly where they belong. On their own shelves. Under their own names. Available for reading. Not for taking away.